Hey traders, welcome to another episode of Charts and Coffee. I'm Raghee Horner and welcome. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday morning. Good to see you all. All right, good morning, good morning. All right, so let's get to it. Let's take a quick look at what's going on in the broader averages and remind everybody that I'm still operating with a bullish bias, even though we've seen some sideways action as of the last couple of days. This kind of stall up here, gang, and I've been getting a lot of questions as to whether this is some sort of precursor to a move to the downside. And I'm not going to assume that a move to the downside is going to be anything more than an opportunity to be a buyer and take advantage of a resumption to the upside. In fact, today I've got let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks on the radar for our Sector Secrets Mastery, and another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, no, actually 12 stocks altogether on the radar, and maybe about 5 setups that we want to get some trigger levels out there for. And I want to kind of touch on this idea of trigger levels for your setup. So one of the things I really recommend everybody do is write down your ideas, put them to paper. I'm all for digital notes. In fact, the daily notes that I put out to our members goes out on a platform called Workflowy that I'm a big fan of, and that's fine. I like the digital, but there's something about putting pen to paper, and that's where in the evening, in the pre-market, I'll do a lot of the homework. And so let's talk about this idea of a trigger. I'll take one of the examples that I've got on my eyes on. It's been in the financial media a lot, and that's the pullback we're seeing in, for example, Apple. All right. So the idea here is that Apple has, clearly moved lower, and part of the move lower that we're seeing here is right into what I call the wave. This is the 34 EMA on the high, the close, and the lows. This is a tool that I've been using for many decades, and this is the dynamic support within the context of an uptrend, which is what we've got here. All right. And when we move down into this zone, right, I'm going to have a number of levels that I will call triggers. All right. This is not just the setup. It's at what price level? At what price level do I actually want to go ahead and engage the market, right? I could have a setup that's waiting and pending, which is what most of my month ends up being. Lots of pending orders, lots of limit orders, lots of waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think when you talk to successful investors and traders, they'll tell you it's an awful lot of waiting. And so the thing to remember is that if you've got a trigger price in mind, what you can do is place an alert at that level. And this is what I teach my traders to do. Use conditional orders, right? Use conditional orders and or use alerts. And this way you're turning your platform really into your trading partner, which is really what it is. Okay, this is what we're talking about. All right, so what is this? Let's see. Give me one moment here. Okay, so when we have, I'm just looking at the chat stream here, gang, just bear with me. When we have, I don't know what that thing from Simpler was, but please ignore it because it looks like absolute rubbish. Ay. Don't people have anything better to do? Anyway, yeah, keep that in mind. Have these trigger prices, because what I like to do is alert a setup with the trigger price, and then we're going to look for the actual execution of that trade. Okay. One other thing I want to mention, for whatever reason, again, I cannot control this, and I don't know why this has been happening the last couple of days, but some of you are mentioning there's a lag from the start of the show to the charts. Gang, I don't know what that is. Like I said, I'm using software to broadcast to 4 different channels, Facebook, 2 Facebooks, 2 Simplers, and I cannot control when it actually goes live, and I don't know what that is. Like I said, if this keeps up, we might switch on over to, say, Yardstream or something. But anyways, yeah, there's nothing I can do from this end. My apologies. All right, so let's take a look at some of the symbols here. One is mRNA, sure. And let's see here. All right, mRNA. I have very little to no interest in this stock from a trending perspective. It would be really more of an oversold buy type approach. And with that being said, I will always prioritize yellow markets. I will always prioritize yellow markets sort of at a lower or second tier. It's not going to be the primary way that I want to engage the market. So while I don't have a problem with this, it's really more about where are we oversold and engaging the market long, and definitely want to be long, because remember, the trend that preceded this chop, right? This is chop in here, yellow market environment. The trend that preceded it was our beloved ideal environment of the double green. So I still have bullish bias. That's pretty simple on that. And then the other one was W day. Sure. All right, W day. Same idea here. So it's the same thing. This one goes into chop with more frequency. So I probably am a little less enthused with, say, W day, because of just how long it tends to go into chop. Chop has not been an infrequent occurrence. But again, it's really about those oversold levels. So when we go into yellow, you want to use perhaps a slow stochastic or the ready aim fire tool from Simpler Trading to identify where these oversold levels are. That's exactly what we're ending up with here. But again, I'm always going to prioritize the second compared to what I would rather see us do, which is kind of that aforementioned apple, where we have a clear double green environment. Gang, listen to me now, believe me later. Unless you really like choppy markets, you're going to want to focus on uptrends. Uptrends give you the most predictability. They give you the most highest probability type setups. Most of you, if you go back and look at the best of your trades, the best of your P&L when 2020 was good to your trading and or investing accounts, you'll notice the environments that you had the most gains are very likely. Of course, there are traders that are exceptions to this, but you'll notice very likely the environment that you did well in is that double green. All right, so let's see here. Gold. Hey there, good morning. So thank you, Pablo, for the question, by the way, on W Day. Much thanks. And Kamal has a question about, I'm hearing gold can drop. Hearing from whom? You think anybody who is playing gold is out there telling everybody what they're doing unless they're already short? All right. Sure. Why not? It could also go up 100 or 200 points. So what's my opinion? My opinion is, and that's all that it is, right? An opinion. Yellow wave, previous trend, the way that we got to this chop, which, by the way, we've been chopping for a really, really long time. But the trend that preceded the chop were sporadic bouts of double green. Okay, you can see back here, you can see back here. So my bias is still bullish. So we still have a bullish bias here, okay? And so that means I'm looking for an oversold zone. Now, if y'all follow me in the free videos at Simpler, you can catch them on the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. You guys will know that I'm bullish and we're getting down into that oversold zone. So my feeling is we're likely going to hold a zone in this market, probably down the lower end of the zone, by the way, is 1770. So do I believe we could move down 100 points? 100, it's such an arbitrary thing to say we're going to move this many points. And I'll tell you why this is arbitrary. And whoever you've been hearing this from, be cautious. Because if we're going to talk about price movement, right? And I know what you're saying, my friend. People always have something to say about the markets, right? If we're talking about daily price movement ranges, let's at least talk within the realm of what a market does on a particular day of week. Plus or minus, we're talking about 45 points per day per session, right? And so we're talking then, if we're talking about a plus or minus of 90, that's typically going to be either A, a very volatile day, or B, likely 2 days worth of the upper end of price movement. So I get very specific about how much we could move and how long it might take to get there. So again, my zone is down in here, and that's what I've got my focus on with some nice support from our standard deviation of the V-score. All right. So that's gold. Thank you for the question. All right. Next up is, let's see. Is it LBK? It's scientifically proven? I believe it, right? Because there's 3 methods of learning, or of even take it a little step further, retention and auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. So I agree with you. I think writing hits 2 out of the 3, right? Visual and kinesthetic. So that makes perfect sense. And I've always been a fan of pens and paper. I don't know, but I geek out when I go to an office supply store. Love that stuff. Always have. Always have. All right. Hey there, Becky. Upcoming webinar. Gosh, yes. Let me mention that we have an upcoming webinar tonight that you can register for. It's simplertrading.com/selective. How are we selecting trades? How are we selecting symbols? What is the process by which we like something better than something else, right? We all need to be discerning. We always need to be selective. So you can register for that today. We'll be doing that tonight, Wednesday, at 8 p.m. Eastern. So even if you can't attend live, which is always better, it's fun to be there with the community. But register, and we get that replay out to you pretty darn quick. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked, Becky. Super stoked. Okay, so next question is, Dorothy asks, hey there, Dorothy, when I have a pending option order, do I set it as a market order? Dorothy, thank you for asking that question. And the answer is, well, we don't set market orders, right? So that's number one. Market orders are very much a function of, clicking the mouse, right? It's very much a mouse thing where it's a get me in now, get me out now order. So I'll go so far as to say, Dorothy, unless I can help it, I never use market orders. Never. I always use a conditional order or an alert. So if I have a pending order, it actually can't be a market order. It can be a stop order. It can be a limit order. It's going to be some sort of conditional order if it's pending. Now, if you want to use an alert and then use a market order, that's fine. That's fine. You're at least still putting a condition on it. So I try to never use market orders. I mean, never. Okay. Next question. And thank you for that question, because you know what? And this is why I say thank you, Dorothy. Order entry is one of those almost lost arts, right? Order entry, placing alerts, using conditional orders. So thank you for that question. Next up is 132, 126, put credit spread. Do you think my timing is off? My friend, look, who am I to tell you what and when to do in terms of the way that you execute a put credit spread? However, let me say, I would have to say that I don't know when you put it on, right? Because your put credit spread anytime you're writing premium. So those of you that are not familiar with a put credit spread, inherently it's a bullish bias setup, and it's a credit trade. For those of you going, okay, Rog, what is a put credit spread? I mean, really, what is it? I know the lingo, but what is it? It's a bullish bias trade. You're collecting a credit, so you're writing premium, all right? It's a credit-oriented trade, put credit spread, right? Okay, and it's trying to take advantage of an inflection point where you can maximize what you are collecting as credit. In other words, you're hoping someone else overpays as we sink down into a zone of support. That's really what it is. That's the strategy, that's the tactic, that's the mindset behind it. So depending on your timing, and I think the timing only was yesterday. So what would be the trigger? For me, the trigger for a put credit spread, the way that I like to put it on is certainly within an uptrend. So I'm with you on the environment. I don't know when you enter the trade, but the only time that I could have done that would have been yesterday's candle, specifically when we get down into this area between the close and the low of the 34 EMA. That's the way I like to do it. All right. Thank you for the question. Do I use the TOS platform for alerts? I mean, Joseph, you can use whatever platform you'd like for the alerts. I actually prefer a combination of TOS and TradeStation. So I use some redundancy. You know, me and NASA. I like the redundancy. TradeStation has terrific, on my screen, on my main monitor, it has a little alert that pops up with a sound in the lower right-hand corner. And TOS will actually buzz, TOS will actually buzz my phone. So yeah, I like to use a little bit of both. I don't mind placing alerts in two areas. I like the visual alerts on TradeStation a lot. And I love the fact that if I know I'm going to step away from my desk, that my phone is going to buzz. So sometimes I have a habit of leaving the phone elsewhere, or it just is on silent and I'm not paying attention to it, where the TradeStation is helpful. So that's why I use both of them. And I use both platforms. So, but both are fine. They're both excellent. You can place alerts on both. Yeah. So next up, question-wise, can we take a look at CMCSA? Of course. All right, CMCSA, it went from double green to double yellow. Does it still look good based on the ETF masterclass? All right, so really interesting. Bullish bias for sure, because we have this double green area in here. But then we've spent quite some time, and we have chopping around, where there's certain times we do transition back into double green, go yellow, back into double green, go yellow. So it's been quite lumpy, to say the least. Is it buyable? Yeah, I would say it's buyable, but would it be near the top of my list? No, it would not be near the top of my list any longer, right? And I'll even go so far as to say, once we've gone yellow, my expectations that we're going to have resistance up in this area at the top of the range gets even higher and higher. So yes, it's bullish, but is it one of my preferred markets? For example, of the 12 that I'm looking at, Comcast is not one of them. Are there other names that we like? You know, think about who Comcast is hanging out with. Do a reverse search. Understand where Comcast is within the high concentration weighting of ETFs, and then see if maybe there aren't other symbols that might look better than Comcast. So I'm fine with the long. If you're in it, you know, ride it out, as long as it's within your pain threshold, your allowable risk. But I would say no, my friend. All right. Okay, next up, and let's see. How are we on time? Oh, I just got time for about one more question here. Hey there, Alex says, it's amazing how accurate those trade flags are. Yes, thank you. Most of my double greens are in the black, and the ones that are taking heat are the ones that I bought a bit too high. Awesome indicator. Thank you, Alex. Yes, and so, gang, a number of indicators that I use. The trade flags are this, and this is the history of those trade flags. And yeah, a lot of these indicators I make available free to members. And so that happens to be one of the more important ones. Harley asks about EL, and EL I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites. It's actually the only one in, here, let me show you here, gang. It's the only one in the staples that I actually really like. It's an XLP name. Absolutely. It is on, that one is one of the 12, Harley. Good eye, very good eye. That is one of the 12. 100%. 100%. Fantastic. All right. Hey there, Sadri. I hope I pronounced that right. Sadri, you made my life so much simpler. Well, we call it simpler trading for a reason, right? Thank you. Would I still take the Apple trade if earnings are in 2 weeks? So we're at the very edge. Terrific question. We're at the very edge of our window before implied volatility starts to rise, and we end up dangerously close to vol crush. All right. But yes, I think we have enough time to possibly see follow through to the upside and then, go flat in front of earnings. So thank you. Excellent question. All right, gang. And just like that, we are out of time. In fact, I ran over just a little bit. My clock is blocked by all my water, all my water that I need to be drinking. All right. So have a great Wednesday trading session. Remember, we do have the impeachment conversation looming over the session. So keep that in mind. It's going to be one of those quirky caution days. All right, gang. So play a little bit more conservative, play a little smaller. Let's just get through some of these historically odd times we're in. Be careful, but be bullish. Okay. I'll see you in the next coffee, Charts and Coffee. It's all about the coffee. I'll see you in the next Charts and Coffee tomorrow at 9. Be good to each other, gang. And oh, by the way, I'll see you tonight. Duh. I'll see you tonight at our webinar, simpletrading.com/selective. Okay. Thanks, gang. Be good to each other. I'll talk with you soon.